Hi everybody. So this year in Miss B's American Literature class, we learned a lot of stuff. But one of the most important things that we learned was a little thing on social activism and prejudice. Now, throughout the year we read 4 very good books. The first one we read was The Crucible. I'm sure you all remember that. It was a very good book. But here's a summary to remind you what happened. The Crucible takes place in 1690s Massachusetts. The story begins with Tituba, Abigail Williams, and the other girls running around in the woods dancing, appearing to be like witches, until they're spotted by Reverend Paris. This caused a big commotion, and everybody in the town started being accused of witchery, and lots of them were hung. Plus Betty stayed in bed, Abigail loved John, and the Reverend wasted money. In the end, John Proctor died to save his name.
If you cry words against my wife, it will be the end of you.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. In the past they would actually execute people just on a prejudgment. It's a really good example of how prejudice changes throughout time. The book we read next was The Great Gatsby. It took place a little bit later throughout history, so there was a little bit less prejudice. Let's take a look at what happens in The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby takes place on Long Island, in an area known as East and West Egg. The main character is Nick, who's new to town and realizes he has a very mysterious neighbor, who turns out to be Gatsby, Jay Gatsby. Jay is a very wealthy man who throws very large parties. We soon find out that the only reason Jay is doing this is to get attention from Daisy. So Gatsby asks Nick if he can invite Daisy to Nick's house, and Nick does. Then Gatsby and Daisy meet, and they fall in love again. A few days later, they all go to New York. In New York, Daisy's husband Tom gets in an argument with Gatsby, and they all go home. On the way home, Daisy drives into Tom's mistress, Myrtle. And then Tom tells George it was Gatsby who killed Myrtle. So George kills Gatsby. Oh, that's very interesting. Now, The Great Gatsby has its own very unique type of prejudice. It's not on race, it's not on religion, it's not on sex, it's on social standing. Now, the book we read after that was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This was not on social standing, it was again on race. Let's take a look at what happens in To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird is a story about Scout and Jem, who live with their father Atticus. They have a scary neighbor, they find stuff in trees, and Atticus kills a dog. Plus, Atticus has to defend Tom Robinson. Then the children are stopped on the street, Tom Robinson dies, and Dale is hiding under Scout's bed. This is very interesting. It seems like all the books have a very related theme going on, where at the end of the book, one of the main characters dies, and there's a lot of prejudice going on in the book. Now, the last book we read was Fences. I wonder if this book has that same theme. Well, let's look at a summary of it. Fences takes place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and stars Troy Maxon, a 53-year-old garbage man. His wife is Rose, his son is Corey and wants to play football, and his brother is Gabriel, who has a plate in his head. Troy met his best friend Bono in jail, and his son Lyons always needs money. Troy became the first black garbage truck driver. Then he had an affair, and then he died. Wow, that was a great book. And it also had a great message. Fences actually won the 1987 Pulitzer Prize. Wow. So, as the year came to an end, we were given our activism project. We were given a pamphlet, and we were told to close the book on hate. So for the project, I chose number 57. Speak to each of your teachers about posting a list somewhere in the classroom of famous pioneer leaders in their field, with a special focus on diversity. The first teacher I went to was Miss B. Let's see what happened. Alright, we're here with Miss B right now. Miss B, who are some of your favorite authors?
My favorite authors are actually 3 local authors. The first one, her name is Sally Alexander, and some of you might have met her when you were in grade school. She's a blind author who went blind when she was in her 20s, and she has come to do different talks at many of the Fox Chapel elementary schools because she's from the area, and she mentored me for 3 years when I was writing my first novel, which is coming out this April. Make sure you buy it. And my another author who's a good friend of mine, her name is Kathy Ayers, and she writes historical fiction, and most of her novels are set in the Pittsburgh area, just like August Wilson, who's another one of my favorites.
That's a very diverse group. So, Ms. B, I came here to ask you if I could post a list of diverse authors in your classroom somewhere.
Absolutely.
Do you recognize any of those?
Yes, Sojourner Truth I recognize. Booker T. Washington, of course. And I would say those are the only two on your list that I recognize.
All right, that's enough for me.
Okay.
Where would you like me to post it?
Oh, you can put it in a prominent area. How about right up here on our bulletin board?
All right, it's a good place. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And the second teacher I went to was Mr. Martin, with a list of directors.
Okay. All right, now we're here with Doug Martin. Doug, I have a list of directors. It's a very diverse list. Would it be all right if I posted this in your room somewhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely, no problem.
All right, very good. Do you recognize any of these people?
Yeah, there's several here that I've seen before. Obviously, Steven Spielberg. I mean, who doesn't know that name? I'm also familiar with Gordon Parks' work, and I've heard of John Woo, Spike Lee. Everybody knows Spike Lee. But Sam Peckinpah is actually he's actually a very notable groundbreaker as far as directors go. Peckinpah is a very well-known name as well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
After Mr. Martin, I went to Anthony Bill Barley, my algebra teacher, with a list of mathematicians.
Would it be all right if I posted this in your room somewhere?
Absolutely.
Spread full diversity. All right, thank you. Okay.
The last teacher I went to was Bonnie Payson, with a list of business leaders.
Okay, and now we're here with Miss Payson, Fox Chapel's famous CBA teacher. So, Miss Payson, I have a list of diverse business leaders. First of all, do you recognize any of them?
No, I do not, except maybe is this one of the students' fathers?
No.
No, that's not? Okay. No, I do not
Well,
recognize anyone.
Our goal was to get a very diverse list of business leaders. Would it be all right if I posted this in your room somewhere?
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Actually, he looks familiar.
Well, that's pretty much it for the video. Let's get back to Jonathan and let him finish up the presentation.